For JRPG fans, the years between 2005. So for us JRPG fans, the years between like 2005 and 2015 kind of felt like a desert. Buster agrees. But the thing is, before 2005, JRPGs were one of the biggest, if not the biggest, genre in gaming. In post 2015, we see this kind of like resurgence of popularity culminating with Expedition 33. But that time in the middle, it felt empty. At least to me it did. And let me know if you do too, if you feel that way. It felt like JRPGs had lost their spark. But looking back now, I don't think that was the case. So today we're going to go back through the so-called JRPG Dark Ages. And I just want to highlight some of the great gems that came out of that era. Let's start with 2005. We have Dragon Quest VIII, which sold over 4 million copies. So it was definitely popular. It was just cel-shaded Dragon Quest. The first time it turned into this 3D giant world, huge world map, huge score, clean turn-based combat. Classic Dragon Quest, but updated. Kingdom Hearts 2, some people don't call these Kingdom Hearts games JRPGs. Well, if Kingdom Hearts isn't a JRPG, then neither is Final Fantasy 16 or 15. So I include Kingdom Hearts 2. And it sold over like 5 million copies. So Kingdom Hearts 2 has always been a big deal. And it kind of refined the original in almost every single way. Smoother combat, smoother gummy ship combat, bigger worlds, and a bigger story. And this next one didn't have great sales, but it is a cult classic. Digital Devil Saga 2. Huge classic, darker tone. Radiata Stories. Again, another game that people just love, but it didn't really sell very well. And it has a huge, world, like charming world with a lot of recruitable characters. And a story that kind of branches depending on who you align yourself with. And an underrated game from 2005 is Magna Carta Tears of Blood and Wild Arms 4. Great games. 2006, Final Fantasy 12. Obviously, 6 million copies sold. We know about 12. I've gone over 12 plenty of times on the channel. Persona 3, like around 2 million sold, something like that. Valkyria Profile 2, 100 or 700K-ish. Between that and like 1 million copies sold. Again, another game I didn't play, but I'm just highlighting the games that maybe not everybody were looking at. Like even myself. For me, it was Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. I didn't look too much beyond those two franchises. There were some that I dabbled in, Kingdom Hearts, and we'll get into some more here soon. Mother 3 came out in Japan in 2006. And obviously, this is connected to the amazing Earthbound that I love, know, and love. And an underrated 2006 game, Rogue Galaxy. Huge world. And also for the DS, there was a game called Contact, which was this quirky kind of, who made, I can picture it, but I can't picture the developer. I think it was it also Level 5? Let me know in the comments if it was also Level 5, but Contact on the DS, I will have footage up. Very cool game. 2007, first off, was the greatest game in gaming history, and probably in this sort of Dark Ages era, 2007 was the greatest JRPG year of that decade. Learn to talk. So we had Blue Dragon, which was this like not crazy game, and it didn't sell particularly well, but it was a classic turn-based JRPG with this Akira Toriyama art style. And it was cool because this was when Microsoft was really trying to get into the JRPG scene. And even though I know people give Microsoft a lot of crap, rightfully so, I think it's really cool watching them try to get into this genre and the ideas that they were putting out there and the games they were funding. Yeah, I wish, they would take more big swings like that. You had Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, This, really digs into Zach Fair's story, and it actually hit a lot harder than a lot of people really ever expected. Etrian Odyssey, low sales, big legacy. This is like hardcore dungeon crawling here. Players, they draw their own maps, and they're just, if you love dungeon crawling, Etrian Odyssey is a great game. And you have games like my favorite classical composer. I know I'm kind of a dork like that, but Frederick Chopin. For my favorite guy, I don't even know if I'm even pronouncing his last name right. I never bothered to look it up. I just always loved his music. You had Eternal Sonata, The World Ends With You, which is still considered like the greatest handheld RPG ever and one of the best RPGs of all time. And you had Lost Odyssey, which I'm playing right now. Like 2007 was a heavy hitters in the JRPG scene. And look, I'm just going to throw it out there. It had Mass Effect, BioShock. What else came out in 2007? I think Arkham Asylum came out in 2007. So 2007, great game. And I graduated high school in 2007. So what a year, right? 2008, Persona 4, 1 million copies plus sold. And Persona 4 is really starting to bring like Persona as a franchise into like the mainstream. Valkyria Chronicles, a game I haven't played, but I've always heard great things. Tales of Vesperia. And another underrated game, which was a little more experimental and gritty in tone, but it was actually really cool. And I played this on the 360. That is The Last Remnant. And I love this era of like weird 360 JRPGs. I don't know why. I think at the time, I think these aged a little bit better than people probably think they did. Infinite Undiscovery, another one from 2008. For the 360. I'm pretty sure it did come out on the PS3, but I played it on the 360. I don't know. I just love the experimental nature of this era. And we look at it like it didn't have any great JRPGs. I feel like, at least for me, I'm going to speak for myself here. I was a little stuck up, like when it came to like the JRPG. I didn't want to venture too far out of what I knew, like the Final Fantasies, the Dragon Quest, the Kingdom Hearts, and stuff like that. But The Last Remnant and Infinite Undiscovery were just really cool games. In 2009, this is, I think, like a really good year for the handheld for the DS. You had Dragon Quest IX, Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2, Bowser's Inside Story. Do you guys remember that game? That game sold a lot. That's like sold over 4 million copies, and it's one of the funniest RPGs ever made. Underrated, Radiant Historia and East 7. The East combat is always going to be cool. I love it, just like the Tales combat. In 2010, we kind of come to these controversial games, but they are iconic. And you have 13, right? Sold 7 million plus. It was graphically, I loved it. The art style, I loved it. The mythos, the lore of it, I loved it, but obviously we all know the problems. Linear, the battle system, I loved it. The story was okay, and it was linear. Everything else around it I thought was pretty good. You had Birth by Sleep, which I didn't really play. Resonance of Fate, Dragon Quest VI for the DS. So 2010, very good year. 2011, Final Fantasy Type O, which I need to go back and play it because I played it for, when it first came out, I played it for maybe like 10 hours and I wasn't digging it. But there are a lot of fans of Type O, and I've read that definitely online. A game another series that I've never played. People tell me I need to play Trails in the Sky, but it's like, is it that good? Where if you're a JRPG fan and you're a JRPG channel, I can't call myself a JRPG channel until I play Trails in the Sky. Because literally, like my comments, I get a lot of comments about Trails in the Sky. So apparently I need to play it. You have Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together. A great PSP tactics game. And then you had Xenoblade Chronicles, which actually was pretty small initially, but it ended up growing into this massive thing that is like one of the pillars nowadays. One of the pillars of the genre is Xenoblade. 2012, you had the US EU release of Xenoblade Chronicles across the Wii and the 3DS. Tales of, I didn't play this one, Tales of Graces F. There's so many Tales games, sometimes I feel like I miss out like on every other one. The Last Story, which is one of my favorite JRPGs, so underrated. Hironobu Sakaguchi, Mistwalker, heartfelt. And you had Pandora's Tower, which was an underrated game for 2012. Unchained Blades, dungeon crawling, kind of quirky-ish game. Now let's get, 2012 was an okay year. Xenoblade in the US and Europe definitely carried, and so did The Last Story, even though it didn't sell very much, like less than 1 million copies. 2013 was a surprisingly stacked year. You had the first Ni no Kuni. It's a playable Studio Ghibli movie. That's all you need to know. I love it. Fire Emblem Awakening, Shin Megami Tensei 4, another great game that didn't sell very well. Tales of Exilia or Tales of Xillia. And then you had Etrian Odyssey Untold and the Guided Fate Paradox, which is kind of more of like a roguelike, but like JRPG, it's so fluid, the definition, because a lot of things could fit. I get a lot of people saying that Expedition 33 is not a JRPG, and I have to respectfully disagree. It is completely a Japanese RPG, because I think of Japanese RPG more as tone, systems, gameplay, just the overall vibe and like storytelling flair. It's not where it was developed. I think that is stupid. That's fucking stupid to think of it that way. 2014 is like, really, we're coming out of this kind of like doldrums of this desert of a decade of no JRPGs, even though I just laid out a bunch. Bravely Default, which really kind of re-energized and revitalized turn-based combat, in my opinion. Persona Q, which was like Persona meets Etrian Odyssey. Tales of Exilia 2. Lightning Returns, which I never played, but I actually heard that people really like it. And you had Drakengard 3 and Child of Light. And Child of Light specifically is a very underrated game. A lot of people don't even know what it is. They might remember it vaguely. But Child of Light is a great JRPG from, of all companies, Ubisoft, which is weird. And then you had 2015, which was like peak Renaissance. You had Xenoblade Chronicles X. Okay, I'm thinking of a lot of these, some of these I wrote down, and some of them I'm thinking off the top of my head, and I don't have it written down, but I'm pretty sure Persona 5. No. Persona 5 was 2016, right? Yes, so we'll say 2016 and on is like where Persona 5 came out, was the real peak of this Renaissance. This is pre-Renaissance times. Xenoblade Chronicles X, massive world. Again, like Alien. It's not really Xenoblade Chronicles, which is more like this fantasy medieval. This is more sci-fi. And then you had Undertale, which I just played just this year for the first time. And I loved it. It was such a quirky, weird, funny, and surprisingly heartfelt game towards the end. Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Stella Glow. Let me know in the comments if you guys actually played Stella Glow. This was a strategy RPG for the, it was the 3DS, right? Can I just say DS and just make that all encompassing? Legend of Legacy, which was the Saga-inspired game, and then Operation Abyss, which was this kind of dungeon crawler niche game. But yeah, so this was really the lead into 2016 of Persona 5. And we get, I'm not saying 2016. I don't even remember when Fire Emblem Three Houses came out, but and then like Octopath Traveler and Sea of Stars and like the 7 remake. And you're really leading into this big boom in JRPGs, like I said, culminates in Expedition 33, which shows, first off, that JRPGs are still hot sellers. They can still sell big. They can still have cultural and industry impact. And it's a shame that, you know, they didn't get nominated for the Grammy for video game score, because I don't know what the hell you have to do to get nominated, but apparently, you know, being a French JRPG developer, you can't. But yeah, when you really dig into it, like the JRPG Dark Ages, and that's what I call them, because it felt like the genre had completely fallen off during this time. But these like Dark Ages weren't so dark after all. Sure, the genre shifted and it got weird and experimental in a lot of places, especially with the 360 RPGs. They tried new things. Franchises like Final Fantasy were trying new paths, new identities, and the market was changing. You know, like Call of Duty was getting, you know, to be the biggest thing in the world. But beneath all that noise, all that white noise, this era was actually packed with a lot of creativity, a lot of risk taking, and a lot of hidden gems that would eventually lay the groundwork for the so-called JRPG Renaissance we're kind of going through now. And real quick, one of the reasons that I felt, and let me know if you agree, that I felt it was so barren was, like, one, I said I was this Final Fantasy Dragon Quest kid, especially Final Fantasy. And if you remember, if you grew up in the 90s, I mean, like clockwork, Final Fantasies were coming out every other year, like without interruption. Sometimes once a year. Okay, hold on. I don't have it pulled up. I'm going to try to sound smart here. I want to say Final Fantasy VII came out in 97. Final Fantasy VIII came out, which is just like an underrated Final Fantasy game in its own right. Came out in 98. At the end of 99/2000, I think Final Fantasy IX came out. 2001 with the PS2, Final Fantasy X came out. That's like 4 Final Fantasies in like 5.5 or 6 years, something like that. So I was used to getting Final Fantasies at a very, very fast clip, and it just wasn't happening anymore. And that's one of the reasons it felt so bare, because we were getting like blue balled with, you know, Versus 13, which was my last video, and Final Fantasy 13, which we were just kind of waiting for it to come out. I'm talking about Versus 13, and 13 was like a huge disappointment, and it kind of felt like it was just kind of, I was just waiting around for something. And I wasn't really paying attention to a lot of the cool games that were kind of being released during that era. So first off, let me know what's your favorite game from this list or just from this era is. Mine, like off the beaten path, Eternal Sonata. There's something about it, the charm of it all, that I really love, the dreamy nature of it. And Ni no Kuni, which is like one of the most, I don't know, it gives you like that warm fuzziness that a Ghibli movie does. And those are my two JRPGs I really want to highlight from this era. It's like, no, this era was great, actually. It wasn't so bad. You just kind of had to look beyond the big franchises like Final Fantasy and kind of just open your eyes a little bit. And I know I'm not the only one who thought it was the Dark Ages. It was like, it felt like that for fans of the genre. Anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure you comment your favorite games from this era. Have an amazing day, and God bless.